Hey man, I need to see some ID real quick.
For what reason?
Just a routine check. That vehicle outside, the Range Rover?
I'm just waiting for my car wash. Am I being detained?
How do you afford a car like that?
I work in law enforcement. Does that answer your question?
Can't be true.
Well, I am FBI.
The day is bright, almost too perfect, and the kind of Saturday that makes everyone feel like nothing could go wrong. But at Supreme Shine, a high-end car wash in northern Atlanta, everything is about to go very wrong for one man. And very right for the story that will expose a cop's bias for the world to see. Ethan Rivers sits in the lobby, scrolling on his phone, waiting for his 2025 Range Rover to get a full wash and detail. He's dressed casually. Plain gray t-shirt, dark jeans, clean white sneakers. To any casual observer, he's just another customer enjoying a Saturday afternoon. But Ethan is far from ordinary. He's a federal agent with more than 15 years of service, someone who has worked dangerous undercover operations, dismantled criminal organizations, and earned commendations that most people only read about in the news. Today, none of that matters. Outside, the lot is busy. Workers move quickly around luxury vehicles, spraying, scrubbing, and vacuuming with care. Exotic cars line up in neat rows, gleaming in the sunlight. It looks like any other weekend at Supreme Shine. But a single uniformed man walking into the lot will change everything. Lance McBride pulls in. He's white, mid-40s, and has been an Atlanta police officer for 8 years. Records later reveal he has a history of complaints, mostly racial profiling during traffic stops, but nothing serious ever sticks. Today, Lance is off-duty, though still in uniform, and his body cam is recording. He strolls toward the lobby, eyes scanning the lot until they land on Ethan's Range Rover. He smiles, casually chatting with the supervisor about the car's features. "Nice ride," he says. "What year is that?" He seems friendly, just a guy appreciating a fine car. Then comes the fateful question. Who owns it? The supervisor, unaware of the trouble this will cause, points toward the lobby. Through the glass, Lance sees Ethan sitting quietly, scrolling his phone. For a brief moment, Lance's smile falters. His posture stiffens. His eyes lock on Ethan. And without another word to the supervisor, he heads inside. Before we continue, where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like this need to be seen. Now, let's get into what really happens. Lance pushes through the glass door and approaches Ethan. Other customers in the lobby, a young white woman and an elderly white couple, notice, but Lance ignores them. He goes straight to Ethan. "Hey, I need to see some ID," Lance says, his voice clipped. No greeting, no explanation. Ethan looks up slowly, remaining calm. "For what reason?" "Just a routine check," Lance says. "That vehicle outside, the Range Rover." "I'm just waiting for my car wash. Am I being detained?" Ethan asks, his tone steady. How do you afford a car like that?" Lance presses. Ethan leans back slightly, still composed. "I work in law enforcement. Does that answer your question?" "Can't be true," Lance mutters, shaking his head. "It is," Ethan says quietly, then slowly reaches into his pocket. "I'm FBI." The body cam captures everything. Every micro-expression on Lance's face changes: shock, disbelief, and a flicker of panic. The officer takes a step back. He wasn't expecting this. He wasn't prepared. "You're lying," Lance stammers, his voice raising slightly. "No one like you." Ethan interrupts, calm but firm. "I'm not lying. You're harassing me based on assumptions, and your body cam is recording this." A tense silence fills the room. The supervisor from outside steps in, looking confused. "Is everything okay?" he asks, cautiously. "Just routine questions." Lance says quickly, trying to regain control. Ethan doesn't move. Am I being detained or arrested? He asks. No. No, just step outside. Lance insists, his body language showing rising frustration. I will not leave without a valid reason. Ethan replies evenly. What crime am I suspected of committing? The questions hang in the air. Other customers watch uneasily. The elderly couple exchanges uncomfortable glances. The young woman scrolls on her phone, pretending not to notice. But Ethan stays steady. He has faced far worse than this. Lance's face reddens. His hands clench and unclench. I just want to verify the car isn't stolen. That's it. Stolen? Ethan's eyebrows rise. There has been no report of a stolen vehicle. There's no investigation. You're making this up. I'm just checking, Lance says, flustered. It's my duty. You're harassing me because of my skin color, Ethan says plainly. You are lying about an investigation, and your body cam proves it. For minutes, they go back and forth. Lance repeats his demands. Ethan counters with questions. Each response from Lance digs him deeper into a corner. He isn't used to being challenged. He isn't used to someone standing calmly while he loses control. Finally, Ethan decides enough is enough. He slowly reaches into his pocket, announcing every movement. He pulls out his badge and credentials, holding them up at eye level. I am Special Agent Ethan Rivers, Federal Bureau of Investigation. 15 years of service. This is who I am, and this answered your question about my car, he says calmly. Lance's jaw drops. His eyes widen. Color drains from his face. He takes a step back, nearly stumbling. I didn't know, he mutters. You should know, Ethan replies. You just harassed an innocent citizen. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is racial profiling. And it's all recorded by your own camera. Lance tries to backtrack. It's a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't. Ethan cuts him off. You've made similar mistakes for years, and those people didn't have federal badges. How many men like me have you humiliated? How many women? How many teens? Lance stammers, searching for words. He has none. Ethan turns to the supervisor, who now looks horrified. This is why body cams are important, Ethan says. No one should be able to harass someone without accountability. The tension in the lobby is thick. Customers watch silently as a man who should be safe in his own country is treated as suspicious because of the color of his skin. And a man who thinks power is entitlement is being exposed live on camera without escape. By the time Lance finally leaves, he is a completely different person. Nervous, fidgety, defeated. The damage is done. Ethan knows it. The body cam knows it. The world will soon know it too. Outside, the Range Rover gleams in the sunlight, a symbol of success and normalcy that had triggered suspicion in someone trained to protect citizens. But inside the lobby, a powerful story is unfolding, one that will change the lives of everyone involved. Ethan collects himself, straightens his shirt, and sits back down. His car will be ready soon. But what just happened will not be forgotten. Not by him. Not by Lance. And not by anyone who sees the footage once it's released. This is only the beginning. The confrontation at Supreme Shine is about to ripple across the city, and eventually, the country. The moment Lance McBride leaves the lobby, Ethan Rivers doesn't relax. He takes a deep breath, scanning the room to make sure other customers feel safe and aware that nothing further will happen to them. But the tension is still heavy. The elderly couple whispers to each other, their eyes wide with unease, while the young woman keeps scrolling on her phone, pretending she hasn't seen what just went down. Even the supervisor looks shaken, realizing how close the situation came to spiraling out of control. Ethan knows that leaving it here would be a mistake. He's dealt with harassment before, but he has a duty. Not just to himself, but to the public. This is not an isolated incident. He has witnessed and experienced racial profiling for years, and he knows that unless someone holds Lance accountable, he will continue targeting innocent people. Pulling out his phone, Ethan calls his assistant and begins documenting everything. Every word, every moment on the body cam, every action taken by Lance is recorded and time-stamped. This is critical. I'm filing a formal complaint with the Atlanta Police Department and sending a copy to federal authorities, Ethan says quietly into the phone. Preserve every frame of this video. Make sure it's backed up and secure. This isn't just about me. Meanwhile, Lance sits in his patrol car outside, gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm his racing thoughts. He had believed he was just doing his job, checking a suspicious vehicle. But now, with the badge in Ethan's hand and the camera rolling, he knows he has crossed a line. Panic mixes with disbelief. How could a man he assumed was suspicious turn out to be a high-ranking federal agent? And worse, how could this all be captured on video? Lance tries to rationalize it to himself. Maybe he can frame it as a misunderstanding, something that looks less like harassment and more like a routine check gone wrong. But deep down, he knows it's worse than that. The body cam is undeniable evidence. Every moment of his aggression, every false accusation, every racially biased assumption is recorded. He cannot delete it. He cannot erase it. Back in the lobby, Ethan gathers his thoughts. He reaches out to a trusted colleague in the FBI to notify them of the incident. Lance McBride just harassed me at a car wash in Atlanta. Ethan explains calmly. I have full body cam footage. He lied about a stolen vehicle investigation. This isn't just about me. We need to ensure this officer is investigated and prevented from harming others. By the end of the day, the story has already begun to spread, thanks to the lobby supervisor and the other witnesses. The supervisor, while nervous about getting involved, posts a brief statement online describing what happened without naming Ethan. A police officer entered the lobby and questioned a customer aggressively over a luxury vehicle. The customer had done nothing wrong, and the interaction escalated unnecessarily. It was uncomfortable for everyone present, the supervisor writes. News outlets pick up the story within hours. Local channels run segments highlighting a video from a body cam showing an officer demanding identification from a black man with no reason to question him. Social media explodes. The hashtag Justice for Ethan starts trending. Thousands of comments pour in, expressing outrage, sharing personal experiences of harassment, and demanding accountability. As Ethan watches the story unfold online, he remains composed. He knows this is bigger than him. This isn't just about a car wash for me, he tells a reporter during a brief interview outside his neighborhood. This is about systemic issues. This is about officers who believe their badge gives them the right to target innocent citizens. And it's about accountability. Every person should be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of the color of their skin. Meanwhile, Lance's superiors at the Atlanta Police Department are forced to respond. They place him on administrative leave and promise an internal investigation. But the public is not satisfied. People demand transparency. They demand that Lance face real consequences for his actions. The narrative has shifted. This is no longer a simple complaint. It's a national conversation about racial profiling, bias, and misuse of authority. Back in the FBI office, Ethan begins reviewing other reports. He knows this incident will inspire others to come forward with their own experiences of harassment. He organizes a team to ensure that complaints related to Lance McBride and similar officers are documented thoroughly. If one officer can do this openly, there are likely others doing the same, he explains to his team. We need to create a record, a paper trail, and make sure the truth comes out. The intense conversation between Lance and Ethan is still fresh in Ethan's mind. He replays the body cam footage, noting every detail, the way Lance demanded identification, how he attempted to intimidate him, the lies about a stolen vehicle, and the sudden panic when Ethan revealed his badge. Each frame reinforces a hard truth. This officer believed his position gave him power over others, and it took nothing more than a calm confrontation to expose him. In private, Lance tries to contact Ethan, leaving voicemails full of apologies and excuses. I didn't know. I wasn't thinking. I made a mistake. Each message is more desperate than the last. But Ethan does not respond. He has no interest in comforting a man who abused his authority. Instead, he focuses on action, filing complaints, contacting media outlets, and ensuring the incident is investigated at every level. The viral nature of the story triggers reactions from civil rights organizations. Statements flood in condemning Lance's behavior and calling for sweeping reform within the Atlanta Police Department. They demand unbiased investigations, mandatory bias training for officers, and transparent complaint review processes. The pressure mounts, and city officials are forced to respond publicly. The scandal has become too big to ignore. Meanwhile, social media users dissect every frame of the body cam footage. Analysts note Lance's posture, his body language, and the stark difference in how he treats Ethan compared to white customers in the same lobby. Comment sections fill with outrage, personal anecdotes, and calls for systemic change. Hashtags like #BodyCamNeverleaves and #AccountabilityNo trend nationwide. Ethan watches all this unfold, understanding the delicate balance between justice and chaos. The world needs to see this, he tells a reporter. Not just because I'm a federal agent, but because this is reality for too many people of every single day. And until behavior like this has consequences, it will continue. Lance, in the meantime, begins to unravel. His reputation is already tarnished, and he senses that his career may be over. The internal investigation will reveal his past complaints and pattern of harassment, and the media spotlight will make it impossible for the department to ignore. He feels trapped, but he knows that what has been recorded cannot be undone. By the end of the week, the body cam footage has been shared widely, analyzed on news programs, and discussed in community forums. Lawyers begin reviewing past cases involving Lance, searching for evidence of misconduct. People are filing complaints and civil suits. The situation escalates quickly, far beyond what either Ethan or Lance anticipated. Despite the chaos, Ethan remains composed. He knows this is not about revenge. It's about ensuring that officers like Lance face real consequences and that future harassment is prevented. He continues his work, attending meetings, filing reports, and preparing to speak publicly. He is the calm eye in a storm, and the storm is only just beginning. The incident at Supreme Shine has become more than a confrontation at a car wash. It has become a symbol of accountability, a moment when someone refused to be intimidated, and a clear example of why body cams, public vigilance, and legal oversight are critical. For Ethan, this is part of his mission. Exposing injustice wherever it exists, regardless of personal inconvenience or danger. The fallout has begun in earnest. Lance McBride's career teeters on the edge of collapse. Ethan Rivers has captured undeniable evidence and set in motion a process that will force accountability. And the public, now aware of the incident, demands answers, justice, and reform. The story is far from over. The confrontation may have ended, but the consequences are only beginning, and Atlanta, and eventually the nation, will watch closely to see how this unfolds. The fallout from the Supreme Shine incident hits Lance McBride hard and fast. Within days, the Atlanta Police Department places him on administrative leave and announces an internal investigation. But the public isn't satisfied with vague statements. They want accountability. Social media continues to buzz with outrage. Hashtag justice for Ethan and hashtag bodycam never leaves dominate trending lists. News outlets replay the body cam footage repeatedly, dissecting every moment of Lance's harassment and racial profiling. Lance sits at home, restless. He watches the clips over and over, hoping to find a way to spin it as a misunderstanding. He sends multiple texts to friends, fellow officers, and family, trying to justify his actions. "I was doing my job," he types, but even he knows it isn't true. Every word spoken, every suspicious glance, every false claim about a stolen vehicle is undeniable on camera. There's no rewriting the story. Meanwhile, Ethan Rivers works tirelessly to ensure that the investigation is thorough. He submits a detailed report to the Atlanta Police Department, federal authorities, and city officials. He includes screenshots, timestamps, and transcripts from the body cam footage. "This is not just about me," he writes. "This is about a system that allows officers like McBride to harass citizens with impunity. Every complaint, every incident, every citizen affected deserves justice." Journalists call Ethan for interviews. Local TV crews arrive at his neighborhood to capture his statement. "I don't speak for myself alone," Ethan says in one interview, the sun reflecting off the polished Range Rover parked nearby. "I speak for everyone who has been unfairly questioned, detained, or harassed. My badge should not have been the only thing protecting me. The question is, what happens to those who don't have that protection?" The internal investigation reveals more than anyone expected. Past complaints against Lance are brought up, many involving racial profiling during traffic stops. Investigators find a disturbing pattern. Black drivers in wealthy neighborhoods were disproportionately stopped and questioned. Officers who witnessed similar incidents previously described Lance's aggressive behavior toward black residents, noting a consistent, biased approach. Public pressure mounts. City officials hold emergency meetings demanding transparency. Civil rights organizations call for immediate action. Social media campaigns coordinate phone calls, emails, and petitions urging the Atlanta Police Department to take decisive measures. The hashtag accountability now explodes across platforms. Eventually, the department releases a statement. Lance McBride has been found to have violated multiple policies, including abuse of authority, false reporting, and racial profiling. He is officially terminated, and his law enforcement certification is revoked. The department warns that criminal charges may follow, and reviews of past cases involving Lance begin immediately. Some convictions are overturned, evidence of misconduct in court forcing a legal re-examination. Meanwhile, the story spreads beyond Atlanta. National media outlets cover the incident, emphasizing the racial bias, misuse of power, and the role of body cams in holding officers accountable. Experts are brought in to analyze the situation. Law professors, civil rights activists, and former law enforcement officers weigh in, explaining why incidents like this are systemic and why accountability is essential. Ethan Rivers, though still performing his duties as a federal agent, begins receiving messages from people across the country. Some share similar experiences of harassment and racial profiling. Others thank him for standing up and ensuring that someone like Lance can no longer intimidate innocent citizens. This story is bigger than any one person, Ethan tells a reporter. It's about shining a light on behavior that has gone unchecked for far too long. People need to know that bias, abuse, and harassment have consequences. Lance tries to rebuild his life, but the damage is irreparable. Friends distance themselves. Former colleagues treat him with suspicion or outright hostility. The court of public opinion has rendered its verdict long before any legal proceedings conclude. He has become the symbol of everything wrong with unchecked authority and racial bias in law enforcement. As the months progress, the Atlanta Police Department implements several reforms in response to the incident and the public outcry. New training programs focused on implicit bias are introduced. Complaint review processes are revised to ensure every report is taken seriously and thoroughly investigated. Officers are required to undergo regular evaluations for behavior and decision-making in the field. Though skeptics question whether the reforms will truly stick, the policies are a step in the right direction. A visible response to a visible problem. Ethan reflects on the entire ordeal, realizing the gravity of what happened. He knows that for every officer like Lance, countless others continued to act with unchecked prejudice. This isn't about revenge, Ethan says in a recorded interview. It's about accountability. It's about making sure that no one else has to experience what I experienced, and that citizens can trust that law enforcement protects everyone equally, not just those who fit a certain image. The Supreme Shine car wash becomes infamous almost overnight. People recognize it from news clips and social media. The supervisor, initially worried about being involved, releases a public statement expressing support for Ethan and condemning Lance's actions. I had no idea this officer would react this way, he admits. I simply answered a question. The fault lies entirely with him and the system that allowed this to happen. In communities across Atlanta, discussions emerge. Parents talk to their children about racial profiling. Drivers become more aware of their rights. Residents engage in civic forums to demand reform. Activists organize workshops about interactions with law enforcement, emphasizing legal knowledge, personal safety, and the importance of documenting incidents. The story of Ethan Rivers becomes a teaching moment, a real-life example of courage, restraint, and accountability. For Ethan, life returns to a semblance of normalcy, but the lessons remain. He continues to work on high-level federal cases, drives his Range Rover, and lives in his neighborhood. Yet he remains vigilant. He knows that his badge protects him, but it doesn't shield him from the everyday biases that still exist. I can't let these experiences make me cynical, he says in a final interview. I use them to teach, to advocate, and to fight for the people who don't have a voice. That's my job, both as an agent and as a citizen. Lance McBride fades from the public eye, but the story lingers. It is replayed in training sessions, cited in news articles, and referenced in legal discussions about racial profiling and police accountability. His career is over. His reputation is destroyed. The body cam footage ensures that his actions are immortalized, not for admiration, but as a warning. The final scene at Supreme Shine, captured on camera, is simple but powerful. A black man sits calmly in a lobby, unshaken by harassment, revealing his badge and identity with quiet authority. Across the room, a white officer, consumed by bias and misplaced authority, realizes too late the consequences of his actions. The story is over for Lance, but for Ethan and the community, it becomes a reminder that vigilance, courage, and accountability can produce real change. Ethan Rivers continues his work, not because he seeks recognition, but because justice matters. He drives his car, returns to his daily life, and teaches others that one incident, when properly documented and confronted, can expose systemic flaws. But more importantly, he reminds everyone that people must stand up, not just for themselves, but for others, because change begins with action. The body cam that recorded the encounter is more than just a device. It becomes a symbol that the truth cannot be hidden, a symbol that injustice, when exposed, carries consequences, and a symbol that, ultimately, courage and calm can confront harassment, bias, and abuse of power, forcing the world to see what really happened. Ethan knows the story is not unique. He knows this kind of harassment happens every day across the country. But thanks to technology, transparency, and his refusal to be intimidated, a single incident has sparked accountability, reforms, and a nationwide conversation. And in that, there is hope.